Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Canal Algérie's nightly news. On to the headlines. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, chairs a work in Miran to assess Algeria's product export, the measures relevant to this operation. The national ports are adopting a 24-hour system to ensure better commercial services. Case in point, the port of Béjaïa. The hatred deployed by French extreme right continues to spread and now reach French public channels, namely France 2. Welcome back. First off, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, chaired today a work and evaluation meeting which addressed the results of export operations of Algerian materials and products and the procedures related to them. The meeting was attended by the PM, the Principal Private Secretary to the Presidency of the Republic, the Minister of Interior, Local Collectivities and Territory Planning, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Internal Trade and National Market Control, Minister of Foreign Trade and Export Promotion, in addition to Director General of Customs. The PM, Nadir Al-Arbawi, chaired today a government meeting devoted to discussing ways to enhance energy security and embodiment of the strategic vision of the President of the Republic by reviewing the major axes of the roadmap for diversifying energy sources for electricity production, especially measures and projects aimed at developing national capacities in the field of renewable energies and increasing their contribution to electricity production as part of the follow-up of the activation of the economic real estate system directed at investment. The government listened to a presentation on the measures taken to activate the National Agency for Tourist Real Estate. The government also listened to a presentation on the entry of vocational training in February 2025. In the same setting, the government discussed the study of facilitating the relaunch and adoption of the Productive Family Program, which aims to strengthen the mechanisms aimed at accompanying and supporting families in need. Algeria's permanent representative to the United Nations office at Geneva, Rachid Vladhan, reaffirmed that the report on human rights in Algeria reflects the full commitment of our country to protect and promote these rights, as per the program of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. Following presidential directives, the 6 commercial ports are now operating 24/7 to ensure trade activity. Béjaïa leads the way, ramping up efforts and resources in cargo, processing and transit zones. Manal Maafa with the full story.
Béjaïa port shifts into high gear, now operating 24/7 to meet economic demands in line with the directives of the President of the Republic. In accordance with top authorities' instructions, Béjaïa Port has mobilized all necessary human and material resources to implement these directives effectively. This new dynamic reflects the commitment of the different parties involved with the implementation of this directive on the ground. We are continuously working on the level of all our services, especially principal inspection of trade operations, in order to ensure a rapid and smooth service here at the port of Béjaïa. This measure will allow to considerably reduce ship turnaround time. This measure is highly beneficial to economic operators. It will also allow to reduce ship turnaround time from 20 to only 4 days. Ensuring the smooth running of ports in general will undoubtedly boost the performance of these strategic infrastructures. All necessary measures were taken. All human and material resources are mobilized to ensure continuous service here in Béjaïa Port, optimize its efficiency and reinforce operational capacities. This new work system will enhance efficiency, streamline operations and improve responsiveness within the port infrastructure, positively impacting maritime transport and foreign trade, aligning with the country's current economic momentum.
France attack in Algeria and other media is becoming a habit. Its far-right's extreme hatred is spreading, reaching France 2 channel, which broadcasted a report titled "When Algiers Seeks to Silence Its Opponents." More insights with Manal Maafa.
French public media had so far avoided anti-Algerian campaigns. unlike Vincent Bolloré's channels, which amplify France's far-right voices. But France 2 report now accuses Algeria of silencing opponents on French soil, citing figures linked to the terrorist MAC movement and former marginal activists. The report claims Algeria is using influence operations to reclaim dissidents, yet President Abdelmajid Tebboune had openly sought to involve all Algerians in national development, with the 2022 Rassemblement initiative reflecting this vision of unity. France, long accused of interference, now portrays itself as a victim. The report coincides with its deepening socio-economic crisis and €3 trillion debt, while Algeria strengthens its global partnerships, reducing France's influence. Nostalgic supporters of Algérie Française and OAS heirs fuel this disinformation campaign against a sovereign Algeria.
You're still watching the Nightly News Edition. Coming up. International organizations sound the alarm on human rights in occupied Western Sahara as violations by the Makhzen are on the rise. First, in international developments, the Geneva Group condemns Morocco's occupation of Western Sahara, urging the UN to implement mechanisms for monitoring human rights violations in the country, warning of its political and legal impacts on peace efforts. Further details with Manal Math.
The Geneva Group has urged the UN to establish a mechanism to monitor human rights violations by Moroccan occupation forces against the Sahrawi people. Mr. President, the group remains deeply concerned by Morocco's ongoing occupation of Western Sahara since 1975, despite the UN calls for self-determination since 1965 until today. Despite continuous calls, the group highlights that the UN High Commission for Human Rights is banned from entering occupied Sahrawi territories since 9 years. The group also denounced the complete absence of a global and independent mechanism to monitor the human rights situation, as well as freedom repression in the occupied Sahrawi territories. It is imperative for the UN to immediately take action to protect Sahrawi civilians, lift the blockade imposed on international observators, and abide by the recommendations and resolutions set by the Security Council. The Geneva Group demands are based on international law, rejecting any attempt to normalize Morocco's occupation of Western Sahara. They also warn of the legal and political consequences for the peaceful settlement of the conflict.
In other news, peace seems to be possible in Ukraine as the country's president is ready for engaging in a constructive dialogue with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin. Earlier in the day, the U.S. President Donald Trump unveiled Zelensky's willingness for negotiations to establish a lasting settlement in the region. Salim Miroh reports.
After more than 3 years of conflict, hope for a resolution in Ukraine appears to be emerging. Recent statement made by U.S. President Donald Trump suggesting that Ukraine President Zelensky is open to negotiations have reignited optimism for a possible peace agreement. In a message on social media, Zelensky reaffirmed his commitment to securing a safe future for his people, not just a temporary ceasefire but definitive end to the war. He emphasized that this goal is achievable through coordinated efforts between European nations and the U.S. leadership. The Kremlin, through its spokesperson, acknowledged this stance is generally positive, but pointed out existing obstacles, particularly the legal ban preventing the Ukraine president from negotiating directly with Moscow. Nevertheless, Zelensky has expressed a willingness to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin, provided that any negotiations include solid security guarantees from Ukraine's Western allies. For his part, Putin has repeatedly stated his readiness to negotiate under conditions that Kiev considers unacceptable, namely Ukraine's demilitarization and the recognition of Russia's annexation of occupied territories. The latest diplomatic developments combined with Ukraine's challenges on the front lines. On the suspension of U.S. military aid appear to be accelerating efforts to find a political solution. While Russia has made significant advances, its progress has slowed in recent weeks, creating a context that may be favorable for renewed negotiations. Ultimately, the success of diplomatic efforts will depend on the willingness of the parties at issue to engage in constructive dialogue, demonstrate flexibility and pursue a compromise that ensures a stable and lasting peace.
On to the operational report of the People's National Army's activity in the past week. As part of the fight against terrorism, a detachment of the PNA captured in Temras the wanted terrorist Malawi Tahir and recovered 1 RPG, 7 rocket launcher, 2 Kalashnikov submachine guns, a machine gun, a quantity of ammunition and other items. In the same context, 3 terrorists surrounded to the military authorities of Burj Baji Mukhtar in the 6th military region. They are the so-called Arbi Ladmi, known as Saddam, Ita Lamin, known as Hudayfa, and Ben Khaya Siyawit, known as Abu Tawud. The said terrorists had in their possession 2 Kalashnikov submachine guns, 3 other firearms, quantity of ammunition, and other items. Similarly, PNA detachments arrested 10 support elements to terrorist groups in different operations. In the framework of the fight against organized crime and the continuation of the tireless efforts aimed at countering the scourge of drug trafficking in our country, combined detachments of the PNA intercepted, in coordination with the different security services in operations across military regions, 36 drug traffickers and averted attempts to introduce 3 quintals and 31 kilograms of processed kief through the borders with Morocco, while over 929,000 psychotropic tablets were seized in Temras, Burj Baji Mukhtar, in Saleh and Janet. Detachments of the People's National Army arrested 244 individuals and seized 33 vehicles, 265 generators, 159 jackhammers, as well as quantities of mixture of raw gold and stones, explosives, detonation tools and other equipment used in illegal gold mining operations. On the other hand, 44 other individuals were arrested: the Kalashnikov submachine gun, a machine gun, 3 hunting rifles, 7 pump-action shotguns, over 78,000, as well as quintals of tobacco, 9 tons of foodstuffs intended for smuggling and speculation were seized during various operations. Similarly, 716 illegal immigrants of different nationalities were arrested across the national territory and communique. That was the end of our news too. Thank you for watching. Take care and see you tomorrow.